here. I think last year it kind of got blown open pretty quick. The women, unlike the men, usually don't play around as much, but kind of see there's such a big contingency of U of M runners here. We'll see.
And to clarify, CalBap did win back in 2019. They also won in 2023, so they would be looking to repeat what they did in 2023, which is sweep on both the men's and women's side. And again, they had the individual champion, Lithuanian native Greta Karniškaitė, who took the victory there. And we'll start to see how it takes out. I mean, it's so fun, Ben, to look at those track results, the cross country as well, of course, but you kind of never know. Again, every course is different. We've seen a little bit how this course is gonna play out today from that men's race. We'll get that course tracker as well. Wide open spaces here, obviously, for the first couple hundred meters, but it seems to be good conditions, pretty quick as well. See that cloud covering cooling down just a little bit, still with a little bit of wind, but I think these women are primed and ready to go. I could see the front pack being maybe a little bit closer than we saw on the men's side, but I've been wrong before. Well, we've talked about Ali Wymer, last year's champion, who we'll still kind of wait to see, as you mentioned, if she's going to be running unattached or wearing the M of the Golden Gophers, but she will certainly factor into play. Reagan Basler, another one, the senior from North Dakota State, who could come into play, the Summit League champion over 1,500 meters outdoors, and somebody who also has a great amount of experience coming in here after finishing fourth a year ago, did Basler. So plenty of athletes with a lot of experience. That's part of the advantage, I think, coming to similar meets or the same meet year after year or cross country. As you start to get to know the course, and we are off and racing. The flags are flying, and the cacophony of runners has gone underway as we see our starters there. But just like with the men, we'll give it a couple hundred meters. We saw an early leader start to distance from the rest of the pack pretty early on. Is it the same strategy here, Ben? Patience, but again, only 6,000 meters. What's the team strategy?
Yeah, I think the team strategy, but I think more so individual. You know, you mentioned earlier, Trevor, about courses change. Some courses run fast, some courses are smooth. You know, the Griak tends to be a little bit more intimidating, but I think the one thing that remains true is that good athletes kind of learn to win on all surfaces.
And we start to see again the lead pack there. I just get the feeling we'll have a handful more out in front. Doesn't seem to be anybody well out clear of the field in these early goings here. And even on paper, we saw some of those key individuals, Basler and, of course, Wymer, who we've mentioned. And, you know, the accolades, certainly the discussion has to somewhat center on Ali Wymer coming back after that win a year ago. But we've seen plenty of surprises in the past. And even on the men's side, as we saw Jacob White take that victory, but running about 4 wide here in these early goings. I do see a lot of CBU kits. They'd love to take this sweep.
Yeah, they're kind of pulling this Wyoming, what we saw early, just come up to the front and kind of dominate. But the one thing I think CBU did in the last race on the men's side was good, clear communication between all of their runners. They kind of moved through the group as the Ks went on, and we'll see how this one kind of shakes out. But I think CBU is definitely the clear favorite here for the team title.
Last year's champion on the men's side, Wyoming, was unseated by Cal Baptist. Now, can Minnesota do something special on their home course, or will it be the visiting Lancers of Cal Baptist under head coach Sean Smith who will take the clean sweep, adding the women's title to that men's title as well? This is the first women's race of the weekend, again, spread out over 2 days this year, here for the 39th annual running of this Roy Griak Invitational. And Roy Griak, of course, such a legend in Minnesota athletics, longtime coach there for the Golden Gophers. So many accolades and titles. The conference and national level, and it's just such an honor. I think one of the coolest things in our sport to name meets after somebody and make sure that name, stays in our lexicon, not just regionally but nationally as well. Roy Griak, known all across the country.
Yeah, he had such a legendary career here. I'm going to make one bold opinion here. I think Allie Wymer from Minnesota is going to compete unattached, based one kind of on the entry but also on the jersey color. I think we were kind of waiting to see which way she would go, and it looks like she's running unattached today.
Well, there's so much gamesmanship, in track, of course, as well. And we talk about how it can be hard to keep track sometimes of eligibility, but that's true in cross country, indoor track, outdoor track. But sometimes that fall season just is something that I don't want to say needs to be sacrificed, but again, better than anybody, Ben, that, this competition takes so much out of you the whole fall season. You go right into indoors, maybe with a little bit of a breather over winter break, but it's such a long season for these distance runners. So if you look at it and you say, okay, let's take a breath, let's redshirt you, and focus on the track, makes total sense as you kind of see our course there. But it's just a long season for these distance runners. But we're early goings in this 2025 cross-country season now, starting to hit some of these hills. And as we thought, 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 10 athletes still very much in that lead pack.
Yeah, we still have a good group up front. Nobody's yet kind of taken that mantle of running away with it, and they're just kind of feeling it out here. But you have good, maybe 10-ish athletes up front here?
And this Jack Johnson Women's Gold Division I race there, you start to see the athletes stringing out. And again, for my money, that's a lot of CBU jerseys. We'll get the splits here on the early goings, just about 5 minutes plus into this 6K race. But it seems to me to be some pretty good pack running. There's Wyoming running pretty clustered as well, but they're a little bit back from those Lancers jerseys. So this one has a lot still left to shake out. And now as we start to see those splits come through, it is Allie Wymer, as you said, running unattached. Jaden Keeler, who we mentioned in the preview right there, but after that, a slew of CBU athletes.
Yeah, they got their top scorers all within that, top 8, top 10. So they're running really well right now.
Jaden Keeler, the senior for North Dakota, ran this race a couple of times, but not since 2022, where she was 74th. But she's got some chops on the track as well as the cross-country course. 16th in the outdoor championships, over 10,000 meters for North Dakota. Multiple-time Summit League champion as well, taking that 5 and 10K double outdoors this season. And she's the one there that is moving very well in that green as our top 3 start to pull away just a little bit. You see Seda Pinar of CBU in the mix along with Wymer as well.
Yeah, and this is going to be Keeler's 3rd race of the season. She's won both races that she's competed in, and see what she does today. It could be an undefeated season for her, but she's going to have her hands full with Allie Wymer here on her shoulder.
Seda Pinar of CBU. They ran a low-key opener down there in San Diego at the Aztec Coastal Classic. She finished 3rd there, so not too much to read into, but set a personal best, collegiate best, over 5,000 meters at the Brian Clay last year. So somebody to keep our eye on. The dark blue jersey of Pinar now fading just a little bit here, but boy, Keeler looking very strong, very comfortable, and the seasoned vet, if you will, the senior for North Dakota with plenty of NCAA experience out there in front, leading last year's champion, Allie Wymer.
Yeah, and her and Allie Wymer, kind of take similar paths. Have raced a lot, kind of made it to the nationals, but haven't yet kind of been that star of that show yet.
Keeler looking to add some cross-country accolades to what she's done on the track. As we said, multiple Summit League championships, and that 10,000 meters at Nationals a year ago. She was second in the 1,500 as well at the Summit League and picked up a 4:20 personal best at the Brian Clay meet last year, did Keeler. But just like we saw with White and Larson in the men's race, Keeler looking really comfortable. Wymer still right there as well, not giving any quarter, so just a few steps back. But I have to think, as we are, 8.5 minutes into this race, I have to think that this is where Keeler is thinking, let me push on the pedal a little bit and break this thing wide open. But you can't shake Wymer just yet.
Yeah, once they kind of came to that first split, you can see that it's really broken open. We just got a big group of just strung out athletes here.
Well, the national conversation does come into play here as well, as Minnesota coming in ranked 20 in the nation, and of course in the tops of their region as well. But CBU, this could be a big win for them. They are dominant through the first mile or so, as we see those totals there on your screen. They're running really, really well and really well bunched together. Pinar kind of in no woman's land, as it were. They're in third, but is this the point now? Going uphill. Wymer knows this course. Last year's champion, still looking pretty confident there as well. Keeler making a good move, but she still has been unable to shake Allie Wymer.
Yeah, and I don't know if Allie Wymer is just kind of hanging out there and just kind of waiting for the right move, at the right time. Kind of, they're running fast. They're running hard. As you can see, the whole race is kind of blown open. And I think Allie's just kind of waiting for that right time.
.21:08 is what Allie Wymer ran a year ago to take this victory. I always like to look at the faces of the athletes, and boy, Keeler looks pretty comfortable and confident, running within herself. A little bit taller stride there from Wymer in the yellow, of course, as you said, unattached, but wearing the Golden Gophers yellow kit there. Still step for step. We might see a very quick sprint finish here. Wymer is not going to let that title go easily.
Yeah, as they kind of come through this 3K split, you can see that CBU just still has those numbers, but some other runners have kind of shown their faces, right? We went from CBU having, their top 5 all within those 8, and now they've kind of slipped back to, their 5th runner now in 10th. They're well within this, holding the team title, but they are kind of moving back, and I just wonder if that was just a little bit of overconfidence in the beginning.
CBU was second in the WAC Conference Championships a year ago. Pinar ran on that squad, but again, at the national rankings, you have to think they have their eyes set a bit higher, and they are in dominant position as of now. Pinar, the Turkish native, holding it down there for CBU out in front right now. But it is all about our leaders, Keeler and Wymer. Those two, in fact, went 15th and 16th at the 10K championships on the track earlier this summer. They're in Eugene, so Wymer got the better of Keeler in that head-to-head, but Keeler, I'm sure, would love to avenge that loss and take victory here. You see the high view, just 3 meters, if that, and then a long way back to the rest of the pack. But as expected, a duel out in front. This could be a really, really hot finish here just about 12 minutes in.
No, you're totally right, Trevor. This race is totally strung out, and we've got some good little battles going on individually, but I think CBU is kind of running away with this one.
So we turn our attention, or continue it, I suppose, to that front pack as CBU, as you said, if they continue what they're doing, they should have a dominant win here and take the title for the first time since 2023 when they were here and swept the men's and women's side. Once again, you take a look at the course tracker there, turning a corner and coming on through. Wymer right there behind our leader, Keeler, and I always like to look at that speed. Now, it doesn't always transfer from the track, but 4:20 is what Keeler's run over 1,500 meters. Weimer perhaps a bit more of a true distance runner, 32.42. 10,000 meters is what Wymer has run. 32.06 for Keeler. So they both have the strength, but this may come down to that sprint finish.
Yeah, which will make for a really exciting race. I love these. I love these kind of shoulder-to-shoulder battles. We're halfway through it. And it's though only a 6K. You'd think it would get a little bit more strung out, but this is kind of shaping up to be a good one too.
Well, Ben, as a world record holder yourself, you know a little something about kind of stalking your prey, if you will. Having set a world record, let me put it that way, but not being intimidated, by big-time competition and those world relays. And I guess my point is, speak to that. Is there maybe a little bit of value of just turning your brain off a little bit, running behind the leader and saying, okay, when I hit this mark, I'm going to really start kicking it in? Because sometimes that slingshot can give you a little bit extra boost and just catch somebody on their heels, the leader, when they go past.
Yeah, I think that's the key. It's what I do really well, is turn your brain off and kind of fall asleep for a little while. I think this one, though, as much as I'd like to say that neither of them are that intent on competition at the moment, they both seem to be kind of matching each other back and forth, and you can see Allie just kind of moving around, taking tangents a little bit. I think this one's a little bit more, they're a little bit more turned on in terms of they probably notice each other's breath and kind of notice when one is kind of easing up.
Keeler has run this course a couple times, as we said, but not since 2022. Wymer, you have to think, knows this course very well. As you see, they've crested that final big hill and just a little bit up and down. So we see our really cool course tracker there from Athletic. Not just the overall view, but that altitude change, so important. And now it looks like Wymer is making a move. Maybe she was just biding her time past that final big hill. And Allie Wymer trying to repeat as champion here. Minnesota Golden Gopher running unattached in this 2025 edition, but it is not over yet. Keeler has some speed in those legs. These two finished just one spot apart in the 10,000 meters on the track, 15th and 16th for them in Eugene earlier this year, but it is all coming down to these final meters as we are just about 16 minutes in, so still plenty of running left to do, but neither athlete is broken.
No, I think, this is kind of a long grind to the finish. We're going to come through this nice fairway, kind of make our way up into the finishing chute, but Keeler's holding strong. I think Allie was probably hoping that on that uphill she'd get a little daylight, but they're still shoulder to shoulder.
Duking it out in front. Another advantage, I would say, of being on the track, you can peek over and see how big that gap is behind you. But the advantage, I'd say, here is there's no reason to look back. If nothing else, there's one other athlete on your shoulder. And both of these athletes certainly coming in with their sights on taking a victory. Is a little bit of a hairpin turn there. And the change underfoot. As we see that course tracker, once again, the Athletic course tracker shows us what's happening. A couple more turns, and then it will be a mad dash for home. Well, it was a dominant win for White of Wyoming on the men's side, but this one still very, very close.
Yeah, super close. This is a pretty exciting race to kind of see how it unfolds here. Not knowing what Allie's going to do in terms of what's next, I think she wants to come out here and though unattached, take this one for the home team.
Jaden Keeler in the green of North Dakota, the Canadian native, running just a few steps back of last year's champion. Wymer with a cheeky peek over there, but again, I still think that, as you said, the warm breath on her back, if you will, of Jaden Keeler lets her know that she has to keep this moving, and I'm sure she knows that Keeler has some finishing speed as well, but did she maybe just pick up a meter or two coming down that hill? Keeler's certainly not broken. This is familiar territory for Allie Wymer.
Yeah, Keeler did finish 16th in the 10K last year, so she's no stranger to kind of distance running and being in her head for a little bit. So I don't want to say this one's over yet. You can see Sarah Hopkins there. She's been kind of all over the course cheering on. We'll see. There's a little bit more daylight there, and Allie looks like she has a little bit more energy in her steps. A little bit more determination as we kind of move through these undulations.
It's been a long season for Jaden Keeler. As we said, the Canadian, she contested the 10,000 and the 5,000 at the Pan Am Junior Games, finishing second in the 5K and winning that 10K. So you want to talk about experience coming up through all of those levels. I mean, it just goes far as you not just have the summer miles and closing off your track season, but the fact that she was still racing on the track up to just a month ago, is that, I don't know, it remains to be seen. Is that an advantage or is that something that maybe tires out those legs? But boy, we are getting down to it, and Keeler regains the lead now.
Yeah, that was a really good move by Keeler. Just really patient there, and as they kind of came back down this hill, she kind of reclaimed her lead here. But it's not over. I'm curious to see what happens here. It's super exciting.
Jaden Keeler, Allie Wymer, these were two that we knew were going to be in the mix-up here. And it is, in fact, going according to form. We see CBU's running well on the team battle, but it is all about individual back and forth. As we mentioned last year, Wymer, the champion. Keeler, though, has her sights set on a victory. It was 21:08 the time for Allie Wymer, averaging about a 5:40 mile over this 6K course. But Keeler now opening up a slight advantage as we tick closer to 20 minutes.
And it's a little bit of a revenge tour as Allie beat her last year on the track in the 10K. Is Keeler gonna win here? I think Allie still has a lot of running left as Keeler kind of peeks over. We have this last little hard hill, and then it's 200, 300 meters to the finish.
Wymer 48th at Nationals at this cross-country distance a year ago. She has the experience, she has the pedigree, and she has the belt from a year ago, but will it be relinquished? Look at Keeler. Jaden Keeler of North Dakota cruising on through here in this home stretch. The flags flying, but North Dakota's Jaden Keeler biding her time, had the early lead, gave it up for a short while to Allie Wymer, who looks to be broken now. This iconic closing shot, it is going to be Jaden Keeler taking the victory here. And we'll look at the time. It's going to be quick, just a couple of ticks faster than last year. But at the end of the day, Keeler, as you said, maybe getting a touch of revenge there on Allie Wymer, who finished just ahead of her on the track in the 10,000 meters. But North Dakota's Jaden Keeler, 20:57 in fact, as we adjust those. Allie Wymer just behind at 21 flat. What a great duel between those two. And now the onslaught of Lancers comes charging home. We'll take a look at that team battle shortly. We had a great duel up in front, and the win goes to Jaden Keeler.
Yeah, just a blanket of CBU runners now.
And part of the fun here is, you know, maybe on the women's side, we saw Cal Baptist, their men, and kind of what was known there after finishing 13th at Nationals. But for Cal Baptist on the women's side, this has to be a big, big victory for them. And you think that the pollsters, if you will take very kindly to this, as they will end up taking victory here. Still awaiting, I think, their fifth runner. Here she comes, but should be a victory for CBU. We'll wait for the shakeout. But my point is, Ben, if you beat a team that's ranked number 20 in the nation in Minnesota, you know, that is a pretty good win. Now, of course, the caveat is Allie Wymer was competing unattached, certainly, so you take out her number 2 finish there. But let's have this shakeout. CBU close to taking the sweep as they did in 2023.
Yeah, that was really good team running by CBU, just keeping all of their their women together, kind of good communication all the way across the 6K. CBU and then Minnesota. As you mentioned, that Minnesota is ranked 20th right now.
Yeah, I think CBU will get a nice boost there, and we'll take a look at those rankings when they come out next time to see where CBU lands. But it is it's one of those things, Ben. It's a long season, but it goes quick, if that makes sense. And so you go week to week, you have your eyes set on the next meet, and you just have to do everything you can. You never know when it comes down to that regional day how things are going to go. So I do think that these points and the head-to-head victories still really matter at this cross-country season, and you always love taking down a team that's ranked ahead of you.
Yeah, for sure. Comes in, runs a good race, beats Minnesota by almost half the score here. But it is a long season, and it's also short. But we kind of move through this to maybe one other race, and then you're on to the Dolphins race. So it goes by so quick. You can kind of see the trail of destruction, and it just kind of tells you how hard this race really is in terms of undulations, footing, and just it gets out fast now that there's a little cloud cover, and a few women kind of struggling to make it to the finish line here.
Well, and it's worth mentioning, as we saw on inside, it is a team sport. So CBU, we mentioned one or two of them early on, but it wasn't so much the individual effort. It was the grouping, third, fourth, and fifth. Pinar, who we saw early in that third position, ended up in fifth. Sarah Schiffman, her teammate, finishing fourth, and Helena Mies of CBU is the top finisher there in third, behind our two of Keeler and Wymer. But a dominant victory for Cal Baptist coming over from the West Coast, taking down last year's champion in Minnesota. 25 points for CBU, but let's go hear from our winner, Jaden Keeler.
And with me now, Jaden Keeler, North Dakota, the Roy Griak Invitational champion, the Jack Johnson Women's 6K. Speaking of Ks, let's talk about that last K where you made up a big gap on last year's champion, Allie Wymer, and ended up not a comfortable win, but a win by a few meters. How would that last K unfold?
Yeah, so just before that last K, Allie took the lead over me, and there were definitely some doubts in my mind about sticking with her, and I did start to have a little gap form, but once I got to a K to go, I really just had to dig deep, and I told myself I would give it everything out there today, and I still had a K to go, so I really just tried to reel her in and was able to hold her off for the win.
Well, many athletes, if they were passed in the late stages by the defending champion, may say, well, I'll just settle for second. That obviously wasn't your mindset today.
No, not at all. I think I'm a runner with a pretty strong mindset. It's something I work on a lot, how to practice, just visualization and knowing when to go and when to never give up. So I think I just channeled that mindset today, and it helped me get the win.
Let's just talk about your next step in the season. What conference meet, regional meet, hopefully an NCAA meet? How do you prepare, and what does this do for you in preparing for the future of the season?
Yeah, I think for one, it just gives me a lot of confidence moving forward. This is my third one of the season, 3 for 3 right now, so I'm hoping to continue that streak moving forward, and we'll get in some more VO2 specific race work as we get closer to conference and regionals, those meets that I want to peak for, and then hopefully I can get to punch my ticket to nationals, which would be my first time ever competing at a cross nats. So that's kind of the overall main goal for the season, and then as well as conference, I think our team has a pretty good shot at winning, and that's something we've been talking about for a while now, and it would be a dream come true to win conference with the team for me.
Well, they obviously got a great front runner. Congratulations. Jaden Keeler, ladies and gentlemen, women's champion today at Griak.
So the confidence grows for North Dakota's Jaden Keeler, as well, you mentioned it earlier, as she's racking up the wins here, and that momentum has to go a long way in this cross-country season for the North Dakota athlete. But here is how it happened in that duel with last year's champion, Allie Wymer. Keeler, as she said, starting off strong and just never relinquishing.
Yeah, and just to kind of touch on what she said in the interview, I think there's two makeups of programs within the collegiate system. We have conference conference programs and national programs. And I think, you know, Griak here is probably a little bit more of your conference championship type athletes and conference type programs where they're really looking to kind of come in and win those summits, those type of conferences. And she ran really well all the way through, and as she kind of mentioned, it's kind of this long-term growth. They've been talking about it kind of as freshmen, as sophomores, and now kind of entering those last years looking to win it as a team.
And if they are able to do that, it will certainly be on the shoulders of Jaden Keeler, so well-rounded as an athlete. Last ran here in 2022 at the Griak, where she finished 74th, so that is certainly a step up. But for Jaden Keeler, the confidence grows, the smile abounds, well-earned for the North Dakota athlete. And